Welcome back to another how-to DIY with Mr. Mopar. Today I'm going to be showing you how to change the outer tie rods on a Nissan Xterra. This is a 2008. It should be the same for 2005 through 2015. I don't believe they changed during those years. Personally, I use the Moog. I don't like doing it more than I have to. The driver's outer tie rod Moog part number is right here. Your passenger side outer is right there. So if you've watched any of my other DIY videos, you know I'm big on safety. So I've got my jack and my jack stand. Lug nuts should be a 3/4 if they are still the factory lug nuts. So once you get your tire off, your outer tie rod's right here towards the front. The nut on the back of it right here should be a 15/16. The nut on top of that should be a 22mm after you get your cotter pin out. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to loosen this nut, pull my cotter pin, take the nut off there. We'll drop that old one out. I have already put the grease fitting in, my new one. The grease fitting is a 9/32. So I'm going to go ahead and get the cotter pin out, get those nuts off, and we'll come back. I should have said this before, but I forgot. So you are going to need to get an alignment after you do your tie rods. You can get it really close without the alignment. So what I do is I take a little wire brush and I get my threads all nice and clean, because pretty much you have to count the threads. So the first thing I do is I get them good and clean. I did break my nut here, the 15/16 loose, and then I snugged it back up. And what I do is I go right to the closest one and I just count them as I go out. Make sure you count them accurately, and when you put your new one on, you want to have the exact same amount of thread showing, and your alignment should be pretty close if it's close to begin with. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back again. Another thing I'll give you a little tip on: a lot of times the old cotter pin isn't going to just come out easily like they should. They just get rusty and crusty and they end up breaking off. So if you've got a good impact, you can even do it with a ratchet. But again, this is a 22mm. As long as you can get your socket on over it, usually you can still spin the nut off and not worry about the little piece of cotter pin. So once you've done that, I've already got that broken free up there. You just need to get that one out, spin the old one off. So in order to save time in this video, I'm going to pause it. So you spin the old one off, spin the new one on, put it back up through your hole here, get it tight, put your nut on, cotter pin in, snug that back up, make sure your threads are the same, and it's done. But I'm going to pause this and we'll come back in a minute. Get my new one on, got it up through the hole, got my nut started. The nut for the Moog replacement tie rod is a 21 instead of a 22, and I would recommend using a ratchet to put this on rather than your impact. You don't want to really over tighten it. You want it good and tight, you know, enough so that you can get your cotter pin through, but you don't want to over tighten it. So once I've got that done, I'm going to snug this back up. In the back I had 9 threads. Make sure I've got 9 threads, and it's done. Put your tire back on and you're finished. So it's a pretty straightforward, easy job. The only trouble you might run into, which I've seen in the past on other vehicles, is sometimes this old tie rod will be really on there good and tight, and this nut doesn't want to break free, and this tie rod doesn't want to come off. So if you look at the axle shaft, it's actually got flat spots for a wrench, so you can get a wrench on here to hold this from spinning in order to get another wrench on the tie rod here and spin it off, or break the nut free, whichever you need to do. But it's a pretty straightforward job. It's pretty simple. You don't need much. you need a 3/4 inch socket for your lug nuts, a 22 millimeter for your old nut on top, a 15/16 on the nut back here, a 9/32 for the grease fitting, and that's it. So I hope this helps somebody out. Thanks for watching.